Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be here and welcome one and all to SimSeniors, to the channel. My name's Ben Satsford, aka Sappytron. I'll be your host through this, and we are at a crucial turning point of the season, ladies and gentlemen, because not only are we at the one and only Silverstone, but this is also a turning point because it is around halfway in this season. That's right, round 5 out of 10. It is the halfway point of the season, and we have got a lot to discuss in terms of our drivers, in terms of our fights out on track, and much to be excited for. First things first, it's good to be back from the break. I hope everyone in the chat or on track who's about to join us for a night of racing is doing well. And also coming off of that, we do hope that you like what we've got in store. So we've got a couple of updates on the background, on the back end, a couple of things that we've been able to tweak, to upgrade for this broadcast tonight. So as always, let us know in the chat or in the Facebook group, Discord, etc., where you are. Let us know what you think. Always want to try out a couple of new things, improve a couple of things here and there. So let us know if you appreciate what we're doing. And also on that topic, if you do like the stream in general, be sure to hit that little thumbs up. Goes a long way for us. Lets us know that we're doing a decent job. You want to join us? We've got our Facebook and then the Discord after that. But let's save the jibber jabber and let's get into the racing itself. Of course, tonight it is Silverstone. And now let's go through the standings and key takeaways. Lindblom continues to hold a lead on the championship so far, although not as cut and dry of such lead. It's 84 points, but 78 from Maximilian Grosges in the Continental, followed by Wolfsteiner, also in the Continental, in the gold class, with the driver numbers in white. Silver is going to be held by Richard Cook, 81 points, just 5 points ahead of Adam Ostrichars in the BMW M4. James Payton is going to be about 6 points behind, 70 points in his Mercedes AMG GT3. And then rounding things off with our bronze drivers, it's Alex North who takes centre stage, 81 points, although he's got the smallest margin of anyone on these podiums. It's 80 points for Bruce Hopkins, also in the vantage. So a single point is separating these two drivers. They're certainly going to be battling it out tooth and nail here tonight, and we're going to really see what these racers are capable of. That much I am looking forward to. Finally, Carl Thompson, 77 points in the Nismo, is going to be rounding off our bronze set. And Silverstone is going to be our flavour of track this evening, and I, for one, am very excited. There's a lot of iconic history behind this track, but I will save you that much. One thing we do need to know, and we do need to discuss, is, of course, turn 1 into Cops, then you have Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel. Things really open up. Then you have the F1, like the F1 pit straight, and a couple of elements over there. But as we start a slightly different position because we are in a GT class. So you have Abbey, Farm Curve, Village Loop, followed by Aintree, the Wellington Straight, and so make your way down to Brooklands, Lovefield, and Woodcote to end and restart the next lap on the left side of the track map, as you can see on screen. And courtesy of our very own Colin, we have a flyby of the course as well. So coming right back up to the start, as you see, it's just about looping over. So let us know who you are keeping an eye on here in this course and who is going to be your favourite to take things away here today. Now, I, for one, I can never really put a pin on anyone in particular, but I am expecting a little bit of a wild card out here tonight because, as you'll see in a minute, there is something that is about to upset the dynamic of the race in a pretty big way. We are 30 seconds out from the end of free practice for everyone to get into the server to get rigged with their setups, but we might as well show you. It is wet out there, folks. It is rainy, it is wet, and it is looking like it is coming down hard on this circuit. So the drivers have got a lot of work to do if they want to keep those cars under control. Now, this is going to favour cars that are a bit more planted, so drivers who are on the gentler side in terms of their driving style will have an easier time with this one. But if you are a driver who likes to push those limits, who really leans into the slip angle and plays on the edge of stability, you're gonna have a rough time here in the wet. Things like lift off oversteer, even aquaplaning to an extent, are going to be only exacerbated even further around this course. Also, you may notice slight UI change. Did a little bit of rearranging, and one thing that I personally am going to be working on is custom UI in the future, or at least working with the team over at SIMseniors on. But here we go. This is green light. We are a go, and it is time to get out there. We're jumping on board to start with a familiar face. It is none other than Thomas Linatus. He's one of the drivers who's typically been a favourite to start the qualifying session, given he's just so rapid at getting out that pit lane. It's like he's got it down to a fine art. And a good thing too, because that has translated so far into a 5th position in class. That's 5th for silver. He's certainly got the pace to match that qualifying jump. So see what the rest of the field is teeing up for themselves, but out in front ahead of everyone else, it is Matthias Holmberg, the driver to beat in terms of getting the cars out just quickly. 7th in class for the Silvers. But with this open breakaway, he is going to have a chance to get some pace down. I'm looking forward to see what he does here. And in particular, how he's going to balance the throttle coming out of Aintree. Typically, in dry conditions, you'd be powering out of there onto the Wellington Straight, but you're not going to be seeing those kinds of moves as much here, given how much you are trying to manage your grip levels. Although saying that, looking quite stable for the number 231 Ferrari. So they make their way to start this lap. We do see the number 495 bowing out of the side of the track. That is Mark Hughes, so they're going to RTP and go out once more. 13 minutes on the clock as outlaps have been completed for the most part. And it's time to see what these racers can do. On board with Matthias Holmberg to start our first wave of laps. Let's see what he's capable of doing and what this driver can really show us on the table. Nicely done through Cops. Keeps it nice and balanced. Now, Maggots, Beckett's Chapel. Gonna have to teeter it on the edge of grip here. Don't get too much of the curves. Remember, the curves are effectively an oil slick. If you put too much pressure on them, they will spit you out unfavorably. You're having to keep the speed a little bit lower here. This will be a balancing act to get it right, to keep it all together. We'll see Holmberg now making his way through Vale, through Club. And up to the next section, Hamilton straight into Abbey. We haven't seen much running from the drivers, but we can already tell preferred lines and somewhat of a dry line has formed. Nicely done here. Holmberg is putting down a decent run. Leonardus is behind. It looks like he gave him a little bit of space. But this certainly could be advantageous to the Audi. Watching what the Ferrari does. And adjusting appropriately. Oh, saying that bit of lift off oversteer, it looks like, and having to quickly dip out of the way, meaning that Lenatus is going to be, I think, our first runner to set a time on the boards. He's been silently behind. And let's see what puts down. Coming up to the start-finish line here, it's a 209.642. That is your time to beat. Wolfslander, though, immediately eclipsing that. 206.887. Engdahl with a .825. So really putting this one to task and showing just how capable this field is. Much more to come, though. This is Damian Reed, number 979 in the Lexus. And it looks like they're fighting before the race has even begun. They're taking the inside. They're undercutting the 720S. And that is going to be quite a sweeping move indeed to get this run on to the table. 206.705 from Frederick Germar is the time to beat for this session. 209.5 from Reed is going to put him in 14th place, having just been displaced by Chris Wilson, who was just making their way through. We have 19 cars who have put time down. Looks like 37 cars joining us out on track today, and many more laps to be had. Let's check on board with the likes of Johan Larsson, strong competitor from seasons prior, as more drivers are making their way through. Atiro making his way to 23rd in the 992 Porsche. Rushing down to the line. Is this going to be a solid one for Larson? No, Larson did not get a lap down. Invalidated last run. So this is going to be the lap from them. We'll check on board with any other drivers to see who's going to be able to put something down. This is Robert Homer. It's a 211, but not valid. This was another outlap for them. 29 cars having put a time down. Some wins and some losses. 2:45 for Alex North, so no doubt there was a mistake made, but kept it on track. Not going to be deterred. But let's check in with current session leader and driver who just got it into the 205s. That's David Lindblom right now. You can see if he's able to push that envelope even further, because he is teetering on the edge of the Delta. It's the number 888 car. Seriously rapid stuff here. And we're going to quite see the times drop the way we do on a dry circuit, but it will still be coming down. Again, Lindblom is just barely running faster than is previous, and it looks like that was Justin Cutler up ahead, bowing out and having to RTP to the pit lane. Goes as wide as he possibly can, coming out of club and down into the Hamilton straight here. You can almost get a sense of speed as you look back. This is from the rear splitter. It's that sense of speed, how fast the ground is actually moving underneath you. Despite a fairly sedentary perspective, at least from the cockpit. Lindblom absolutely nailing those lines. Doing very well to carry speed all the way through to the edge. A little bit of a wobble as he comes onto the Wellington straight, but that's not going to deter him. He's 2/10. He's a single 10th up. He's still managing to preserve a time save on the Delta. Can he bring it through? He knows that he theoretically could get a 205.5 here. How much of that can he salvage? Final couple of corners, making his way up through Luffield here. These are roughly about equal. Will this be an improvement from the Nismo adorned in the Monster Energy livery? Is it going to be enough? It's going to be 5 milliseconds too slow to set a new time. You can see Sector 2 absolutely nailed, but lost that time, crucially, coming out of Aintree. Seriously rapid stuff, but just not being able to pull it together in the moment that it counts. A few more cars making their way through. Here's Derek Bird here. Now, the Porsche is an interesting one in these conditions. They can afford to take a little bit of slip angle, but how's that going to factor in to the wet conditions? Either way, P10, solid run there. Björklund is going to be immediately usurping that, though. One of the Wolfpack cars right here. We're not going to be taking that one so lightly. Meanwhile, Lindblom once again on a run. Now, will they repeat the crucial mistake that they made last time out? We'll, of course, wait to see. We'll find out exactly what's going on, but a few more cars are making their way through. Anthony Heber just crossed the line. No improvement, unfortunately. We have a couple more cars who are going to be pushing and making their way. This is Randy Zimmer, the number 141 Ferrari right here. Looking very nice in that bright orange. Ferrari's managing to look good in almost any colour, somehow. It's a rare scientific phenomenon. So Colin McNair just coming up to the line. 217, but they have got a 207 on the board, so that's going to be good enough for them for P13 for now. Randy Zimmer, though, getting a nice improvement. Healthy dosage of places as they're up into P20. Now up to the eyes of the top. Looks like there is going to be a bit of time game. Not as much as their previous runs, but here we go. That is a 205.770 for David Lindblom. He's going to be pushing that envelope even further. Now, a half of a second ahead of the next closest competitor. Not to be outdone, though. Here comes Peter Wolfslener coming up to the line. 9/10 of a second. And it's a 0.817. So close. They briefly flashed pink. And you can see best Sector 1 and Sector 3. So unbelievably close to challenging the peak time of this session. 4 minutes left on the clock, which means about 2 laps, give or take some spare change. And this is going to be crunch time for a lot of the drivers. Kevin Walker up to line now, up to par. See what he can do here. He's currently lost in the standings, 36 points. And 13th in bronze, so has a chance to make some headway upwards here. He's got a very good delta relative to his best. 210.1 right now. That jump could get him up at least 2 positions. He keeps it together here. Nicely handled on the final corner. And it's a 209.420, which is going to catapult him into P29. Nicely done indeed. Finally, Craig Morrison here. It's the number 213 car. And a little bit further down the order is 35th. 2 minutes and 12 seconds is their current standing. Will there be an improvement here? Up to the line. No improvement, sadly. Curiously, we have Hughes and Homer still yet to set any times on the board. I think Hughes is just having a bit of a struggle in the wet. Doesn't look like they've got the strongest handle on that 296 right now. Bit wobbly, bit shaky. I don't think the confidence is all that much there. But he's just got it on the board, and he's a 208.6. That's enough for 25th overall. Here's Jimmy Engdahl. Early push for pole they had. 206.235. So while they've validated on this run, they are setting themselves up for a last-minute dash. Because at this point, nobody has lapped faster than a 205. Meaning that this is the last run for everyone out on this course currently. Derek Bird, couple of tenths down, in fact. Meaning that this is going to be a hard sell if he wants to try on this next lap for a new run. Jumping on with Alex North, though. Leader of bronze. Remember, they have got their own battle to be settling because their current challenger for the lead of the bronze class is currently sat 7 positions and 7/10 of a second up ahead of them. And it looks like that gap's going to come down even further. Bruce Hopkins is looking like a firework out on this track. The weather may be damp, but nothing brightens up a damp day. A little bit of sparks and fire. Made his way through that Aintree into the Wellington Straight, and he's keeping a very nice handle on that V8 Vantage. Rapid machine. It's going to be a quick run here for Hopkins. 0.7 of a second up. Unfortunately, Alex North has invalidated. Let's see here. That is going to be a nice run. Bruce Hopkins thoroughly holding the lead for the bronzes. And closely behind leader of silver. I believe that is... Yes, that is... none other than Chris Wilson. But final times coming up to the board. Liam Blom's got a 205.497 and is now in the pit lane. Larson has invalidated. No improvements here. Wolfslenner, a couple of tenths down, is not going to be bringing anything home. Nicholas Bjerkland was on course for an improvement, but no such luck, sadly. They lost a serious chunk of time, and that is going to be session over for them. Robert Homer continuing to be in the pits and is the only driver who has not put anything on the boards, meaning they will start at the bottom in 37th place. Last couple of runs then, making their way through this course. Take a bit up ahead. This is Chris Bourne, 10th on the boards, but a good improvement here can put them into the single digits. 3/10 up. What's it going to be? Up to the line, and it is 8th place for the black and purple Ferrari. Oh, large gaggle of cars now coming through. I think a few of them have invalidated here, but not to be outdone. This is going to be quite a set of races. Anthony Hebert coming up to the line. It's up into 21st. McLaren as well. Andy Oldhouse is into 22nd. As that was Peter Smith in 33rd. Here we go, last few races. Carl Thompson, place in the bronzes. And having some work to do. A few more races. Couple have bowed out of their lap. So here you go. Here's Alex North retiring into the pit lane. Is Randy Zimmer on a run but has invalidated. So Carl Thompson has a chance to slingshot a couple spots here. Here we go. That is time. That is done. And there we have it. So, what a run. And in the end, it is going to be Lena Blom taking form and taking point. First position, pole position, and by about 0.3 of a second. Closely followed by Peter Wolfslenner in the 196 Bentley Continental GT3. Jimmy Yang Dahl is going to be your third place spot, also in the Nismo, this time the number 443. And that is your podium for gold class. Silver class is going to be Chris Wilson with a very impressive 207.5, closely followed by Matthias Holmberg at 207.750. That's going to be Patrick Larson as well with the 230 Ferrari. Is going to be coming up the rear, just 47 milliseconds away from Holmberg. So it really was a hair's breadth between these drivers. And then rounding out with the bronzes, it's Bruce Hopkins absolutely stealing the show here tonight with a seriously impressive 207.687. Your next closest bronze driver, it is Anthony Hebert. And that is a few tenths behind. Goes to show how tight the margins are in the mid-pack. This was only a few tenths. It was about 0.4 of a second. And yet it's 13th to 21st. And then John Gabbert is going to be your number 21 McLaren that rounds out your 3 for bronze. And that is where things take a settling point. We aren't actually going to go to an intermission this time because we have a little bit of a surprise to show you. We will be running a full grid walk once these drivers respawn trackside. And we do hope that you're in. If you're in for it, you're on board for it. and you're on for the ride. So let's do this. Let's see who is going to be on there as we look all the way. First things first, let's take it from the top. This one, David Lindblom, first place. Closely followed by Peter Wolfslener in second. Got quite a impressive few fielders here. So just fixing that minor bug as Jimmy Young Dant, Frederick AMR are coming up in row 2. Johan Larsson and Nicholas Björklund in the McLaren and the Mustang respectively are going to be in your row 3. Dave Marsh in the iconic green, it's almost snakebite Porsche 911, number 27, followed closely by Chris Bourne in the 118 Ferrari. Tommy Hellstrom in the number 660 McLaren Wolfpack driver, alongside the beautiful Transformers 1 livery of Oscar Herme 169 Ferrari. Paul Hamby is in 11th, number 84 McLaren, closely followed by Chris Wilson, just a couple of tenths away in number 49 Vantage. Another Vantage this time, number 60, that's Bruce Hopkins, was leader of bronze, with Matthias Holmberg, leader of silver, just next to. Derek Bird is going to be in your 701 Porsche. That's going to be alongside Patrick Lawson, another Wolfpack entrant in the 230 Ferrari. The number 979 Lexus, love him, you can't forget him, is going to be Damien Reed, with James Payton in number 248 Mercedes AMG GT3. Two unique cars right next to each other. The Iron Brew Nismo goes to none other than Colin McNair, number 13 and number 12, with a beautiful Audi of Thomas Linatus. Rounding off that, that's Anthony Hebert in the 28 Ferrari and the Tic Tac Mint livery of Andy Aldhouse, number 138. Justin Cutler is going to be on your next row, number 35 Stealth Black Nismo, even with the bullet holes for bonus added. Danger with the 141 orange Ferrari alongside John Gabbett just behind, looking very striking, photorealistic explosions all over that McLaren, and Richard Cook in the Pink Panther wagon, the 182 Mustang. Mark Hughes, 495 Ferrari with Ostrachars in the green and gold. Then following that, you have Alex North in the 207, almost iconic by this point, so you know from the F1 cars. And then Kevin Walker, the 330 Ferrari. Nisbet 331, purple and green, with Eero Vasuri in the 992 Porsche right there. Carl Thompson is in the 774 Nismo. Very traditional, nice looking livery, nice and clean, with the almost mint green looking McLaren of Peter Smith. Finally, rounding up your order is Craig Morrison in the 213 McLaren. Roger Dismukes in the 420 Porsche. And then Robert Homer in the number 6 with no time on the boards, number 6 Porsche. So here we go. Everyone is warming up those cars, getting themselves ready, and seeing what we have in store tonight. So for those who remember, it is a 1-hour race with a mandatory pit stop. Fuel is required, tires are recommended, but it's at the driver's discretion, depends on their strategy. Looking forward to a brilliant race out there tonight. Looking forward to seeing who is going to come out on top in these varying conditions. We're on board the helicopter as things start to get underway in just a moment. I'm trying to get a bit of temperature into those tires. The water's going to be doing a lot to displace a lot of heat. So any kind of warming that these drivers are doing to those compounds are going to need to be done twice over. But remember, the wet weather compound is also specially designed to deal with this temperature difference. So the compound's a fair bit softer. It's a lot more pliant. You try to take these out in dry weather, you are going to have a nightmare of a time. They will burn up, flare up instantly. Reduced contact area and softer compound. You are going to be blistering and spitting rubber all over the track. But here, they are perfectly suited because the water is going to be cooling those tyres down and keeping them in that optimum operating window. So we're on board with Liam Blom as things are set to get started. Once again, let us know if you're enjoying the stream by hitting that little thumbs up. And if you want to join us, we have our Facebook page followed by our Discord once you've joined through all that. But look at the gaggle of cars. They're all lining up double file, getting into prime formation, ready to go racing one more time in this season. We're about to cross the halfway point, but the tensions only build higher. It's sopping wet, but still the track is hot as we come around the final couple of corners. Liam Blom leads, and close next to Peter Wolfslener along that front row. They lead the double file of cars. Let's see what they can do up through into Woodcote. And we will have race control any moment now, calling the race, getting us started. And we will bear witness to none other than pure racing adrenaline. Here we go. Up to line. Any second here. And there you go. Green light. Go, go, go. That's the call. And that's the drivers immediately closing up. Contact between Liam Blom and Wolfslener as they go side by side. And Liam Blom takes early advantage. Presses that early spot. As you can see, it is chaos and pandemonium behind. It's 3. It's 4. It's drivers everywhere. It's looking nice and frenetic on this course. Little bit of contact here and there. Drivers not afraid to get in each other's space just a little bit as this session is quickly ramping up. But oh, what's this? This is chaos. Things have quickly taken a turn for the worse. That is Maggots and Beckett proving to take a couple of victims. Let's see exactly what happened here. Let's take a quick rewind immediately, wasting no time. As we come up to the first corner, looks like a little bit of wobbliness. And then they're just trying to game each other out of space. That's contact between the Ferrari and the Nismo. And you can see just collecting everyone like a scoop. Nobody is safe out there. A lot of drivers are going to be walking away with bruised egos and bruised bumpers. That did not take long. It looks like we've already had another altercation. As that is going to be Randy Zimmer and what looks like Ostrachars both heading off the track, just coming out the exit of club. They just squeeze themselves out of road. We will check in on that in due time. But Zimmer has been demoted all the way down to the bottom of the order in 37th. Crazy to think that despite not setting a time on the boards at all, we had a certain Robert Homer who has gained 9 places. And oh, someone just flew off to the side there. What was that? Asiero just losing control of the car. Either way, let's get those gaps back up. Let's get this race going. So now on to the next lap. Drivers have found a bit of space on the track, and we already have 2 drivers into the pits. That's Justin Cutler and Randy Zimmer, the number 35 and the number 141, both bowing out into the pit lane. Fortunate to see them out of the session at this stage. So we have another casualty, though. That is going to be Patrick Larson, as they are sideways on track. I think they just lost a bit of control there. But we will check the replays, of course. Let's take a little bit of a rewind and see exactly what happened earlier, as I think this is the right one. So scooting our clocks back to a little bit earlier in the race. They're trying to trace down the incident between Zimmer and Ostrachars. That was not the one. That was somewhat underwhelming. It looks like we have Peyton, who is running slow towards the back end. So that would have been a tough pill to swallow for a few drivers. That opening set of laps not being kind to a few different racers on this track. See what is going on with the number 74 car. I think we have found the right replay at this point. So let's see. This is on board the Helicam. This is Adam Ostrichaz. Let's see exactly what happened. Oh, so it looks like contact. That was between Randy Zimmer and the pink Mustang. And there you go. Just nowhere to go. Nowhere to really avoid and take action. And we see a few more racers who have thoroughly segmented themselves from the pack. They jump aboard, make a quick switch. That one's going to be Oscar Herme, 6th position. Very strong silver runner in Season 7, hence the promotion up into gold in Season 8. And proving his worth already. He's going toe-to-toe with many different driver. And the field is absolutely loving it. Looks like Wilson and Hellstrom have come to blows. Briefly traded coming out of the exit at Chapel Curve, but looks like Hellstrom has quickly retaken the position. Few different drivers currently holding themselves out on track. For one, the front of the field has started to already segment themselves. You have Lindblom almost 2 seconds away from Wolfslander, with Engdahl even further behind. You have Oscar Herme meanwhile challenging off the back of Johan Larsson. Two very strong competitors in very close quarters. We'll have to keep an eye on these two. Wilson and Hellstrom have grown to about a second apart, but that has given an opportunity for Paul Hamby to sniff out some competition. We have a pretty intense battle towards the back as well, as this is going to be Andy Aldhouse. Remember, he got picked up in that little altercation earlier in the race at the start. And so he's either running with a bit of damage or with a chip on his shoulder. Want to rectify the previous mistake and do so very quickly. Looks like Alex North is hunting for a position. He's got a championship to defend here for bronze, so he's not going to be taking any liberties, especially with Hopkins so far up ahead and so many positions higher in their relative race. Got a whole 7 cars standing between him and his rival. The time is of the essence to get this one done. McNair making a great overtake on Damian Reed in the Lexus here. That one is going to be the 14th position. McNair is putting the pressure on. Gonna have to work a little bit upward, a little bit harder if he wants to challenge Homburg. Even further so if he wants to catch up to Björklund and the rest of the top. Are quite spaced out at this point. Oh, looks like we have had an issue, however. This is Alex North sidewards on track. Let's get a replay and see exactly what happened here. So this is on board with the Helicam. You can see just coming down, goes for an overtake, peeks the nose out of the hangar straight and into Stowe. Has the inside line, and just door being closed, so both him and the McLaren going off track. In the end, that will be him being demoted to 33rd, and an even worse situation than he was really hoping for. This Next one is Morrison. And Morrison is on a bit of a defensive. He's got Ostrachar's silver class driver breathing down his neck. Not got much in the way of breathing room himself. Damien Reed is going to be heading into the pits. Likely due to damage severely impacting their race. See if they'll be able to adjust their strategy with the pit lane in mind. That's always going to be an interesting thing. There's no limit on stint times. You can take a stint that is 90% of the race or a stint that is 4. Oh, big hit there. That was very nasty. Both of them off track and going to have to get themselves quickly back on course without disrupting anyone. Just outbraked himself there. Sad to see it. And sad to say, that is them demoted down into the 30s. 30th and 31st for Morrison and Ostrachar's. Take a quick peek in with our leaders at the moment. And now the field is going to be intensely fighting. A lot of racers have a lot to gain from this. And the most important thing right now is that for this championship, for this season, the racers cannot afford any slip-ups. Points at this stage are going to be absolutely essential. No such thing as too little risk. But there is such a thing as too much. Not even quite sure if that made sense, to be honest with you, but my point is the drivers don't want to overdo it despite the points potentially at stake. Time is of the essence and time to hunt down some fellow racers. You can see this is Kevin Walker right now, who's dealing with a upper class threat. This is going to be Patrick Lawson breathing down the neck. The Wolfpack 230 Ferrari really knowing how to make a scene. Knowing how to put some serious pressure on. Both of them running the same car. They both have the same characteristics. No one's going to be inherently faster in each section. It's purely down to driving skill and tuning aptitude. Who has dialed in their car better for this current situation? Are they even running the same pit strategy? Because the fuel is going to add that weight. They run the car a little bit leaner if you have to. Eke out that lower weight. You can see him dipping out to the outside further and first. Make sure he's established a racing line. Seeing if he can almost bait Larson into an attack. Doesn't look like he's going to be biting, though. Doesn't look like there's any bite from him. This will be crucial to keeping it all together. You can see dipping left, dipping right. Here is going to be Larson, really desperate for that spot. Just observing, he's going to go into the inside. This is the chance to make it happen. Side by side here. And they have a bit of traffic to deal with too, because this is Carl Thompson. So Larson makes it 1. Can he make it 2? Going around the outside of Luffield into Woodcote. He goes fully off the track. He loses the advantage he otherwise held. Niesbet could now have an opportunity for a free overtake, and he makes a full capitalize of it. Now takes full advantage with a 21st position. And Larson being demoted now to 22nd. Not a happy bunny whatsoever. Take a look at McNair as well. He's got a similar fight of his own. He's trying to rejoin his gold class drivers and rivals. But there's one silver standing currently in his way. His name is Chris Wilson. He's in the number 49 Vantage, and he's taking full advantage of the situation. Use that gold class to push you forward, to race harder, to show you the way. We do see a bit of class mingling in this series. A lot of drivers have their races where they do punch above their weight. Seen it time and time again. Bronze making good friends with the silvers. Silvers going toe-to-toe, dicing it out with the golds. Even bronze going all the way to gold territory. It has been done. Has been seen in the past. So the field will be certainly feeling a little bit nervous. The diffuser of Björkland, the Mustang. Because that's going to be Alex North yielding to the side, having been lapped. And now in 37th. He is limping along right now. North is not having a good time whatsoever. See a sniff and an attack. Briefly coming in from Wilson. Bit of a wound there on the ego, on the spirit. Although we did have a small incident between Walker and Niesbet. Let's see exactly what happened there. We rewind the clocks just a little bit. This is going to be Walker on the attack. Niesbet just behind. So the McLaren's going to be closing in. Don't really know how to handle the traffic. And, oh, there we go. Both of them having to yield off to prevent that lift-off oversteer, rotating them too far. You see Lenatus and Larson also have a chance to get back at the pie. Lenatus really pushing that car in particular. But here's McNair. He has managed to get past Wilson through the hangar straight and into Stowe. To the golds, he is reunited. And to his competition, he shows no signs of yield. If I was him, I'd certainly be pressing every single advantage that I could get. We'll take a quick gander round and see where our respective class leaders are at. So first off, Lean Blom currently 4.5 seconds clear over the next fastest driver in Peter Wolfslander, looking almost untouchable. Meanwhile, Chris Wilson, he's had a bit of a scuffle with Colin McNair, but he's come out pretty well from it. Holmberg is waiting in the wings, although I would not be so quick to dismiss either of them, as I think this battle is going to come to fruition faster than you think. Meanwhile, in bronze, it's going to be Bruce Hopkins still holding the lead, but not completely uncontested, as John Gabbert is a couple of seconds behind, waiting for a chance to strike. And as we pass over lap 8 and into lap 9, this is going to be the challenge of a lifetime to see Hopkins lose his cool and lose the spot. On top of it being so rainy, so cold. 19 degrees track surface temp and 18 degrees ambient. Add on to that very low temperature water, you have got yourself a recipe for trying to pump some heat into the tyres at any cost. Oh, saying that though, big contact. That is Peyton and Smith just completely barging each other out of the road, running out of room. No love lost between the two as they re-emerge in 30th and 29th. Frustrating situation to be in for sure. Apologies, folks. We are back. Minor technical hiccup there. Just had to quickly resolve. Back to the action now. Nisbet, Linatus, Larson, all in such close proximity. This is time for them to really show their fighting chops. Carl Thompson stands in the way currently and has been leading this pack, but Nisbet is done with that life. He wants to get it past. He does make it past. Is Linatus also going to capitalize on this momentum? Yes, he does. Through and out. It's going to be a nice move. Aintree into the Wellington Straight. The Audi is up into P20. And Larson also making a move means that Thompson has been displaced 3 places by the McLaren, Audi and Ferrari respectively. Quite a big swing all in one go. It's like a set of dominoes on this track. You set them up, and when the time comes, you let it go, you watch it fall. Thompson, unfortunately, was a victim to such a domino push. And he was the first domino to come tumbling down, laying the path for the rest of them. Keep an eye on this trio, as they do not seem to be yielding an inch as they come out of the first sector, making their way soon into Chapel Curve and then the Hangar Straight. Will there be any leveraging of the slipstream? There is a bit of slipstream, even if you have spray to deal with. You can see the Audi briefly poking the nose to the side. Having much in the way of luck, but saying that got much closer as we come through out into Stowe Vale. Artis is going to go for it. Side by side into Vale and now out into Club. These 3, such close proximity, but a great amount of speed from the Audi. He swings it around the outside. Nicely and elegantly done. This is going to be Linatus' time to shine now. And we see it peeking at the back. That is going to be Craig Thompson. Well, not Craig Thompson. I read 2 names at the same time. That is Carl Thompson. My mistake. Who is peeking and trying to make a challenge. Larson, Nisbet, very close quarters to one another. Even looking to the top. Let's jump up ahead as we can see that's Frederick Gemart in the Mustang, who is showing themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. We saw them with how well they did up in qualifying. They got a great initial burst, but just couldn't quite hold on to that power. Now the question is, will we see fight? Racers are looking keen and going to be challenging. So, one thing I am wary of is how much will these drivers be pushing each other to the limit. As we've seen time and time again, just in this session alone, a little bit too much push and you get yourself in a lot of trouble. Whether that is pushing for position, pushing for space, or even just pushing to get to a different position on the track, whether to go to the inside or to the outside. Deviating from that established line can be so precarious. Such a risk to take. Not something you can decide lightly. Such decisions that drivers like Tommy Hellstrom is now contemplating. With Paul Hamby breathing down their neck, it's going to be a little bit more defensive as the driving continues. Even behind that, there's going to be Nicholas Björklund. who's going to be right there to leverage any opportunity that faces. He sees that Hamby makes a mistake in the pursuit of P9. Björklund is right in the firing line to be able to take it. Fortunately, he did drop back a little bit through Maggot and Beckett. With 35 minutes on the clock and the pit window surely closing in soon, Field is starting to consider their next moves for strategy. Now, the tyres are pretty hard wearing. Despite them being softer compounds, they are preserved very well from the water, limiting any severe thermal degradation. But try as I might, the chance for a major upset, a major win, it could be dashed if the field does not 100% keep it together. So we are just adjusting some live elements. Do bear with, as we want to make sure it all fits and lines up quite nicely. Oh, we just quickly jumped over to, that is going to be Derek Bird and Chris Wilson making contact, spinning round. Let's see exactly from the live replay. Let's see exactly what happened. This is on board with the number 49 car. This is Chris Wilson. You see Derek Bird on the chase, coming out of Aintree into the Wellington straight. Very easy to close the door on an opponent here without realising. But Chris Wilson, too much on the outside, oversteers right into the Porsche's door. And the number 701 displaced all the way down into P16. Unfortunate time there. That is Tommy Hellstrom now also going into the pits, meaning that we really are going to see a wave of pit stops coming up very soon. We've been so close to attacking on Hamby. Remember, with no Hellstrom to pull the two of them along, Hamby is effectively marooned. He might as well be leading his own race. See Hellstrom and Larson both in the pits, but set to be coming out soon. Hellstrom already making his way out of the pit. Going to be rejoining in 26th right now. Just behind a couple of cars. That's going to be Ostrashars just up ahead. See Rog also right there, but under threat from Peter Smith. Smith is not going to be able to quite close that gap. At least not yet. Well, Kevin Walker on the back of Carl Thompson. And Walker is really putting down some substantial pressure. Now, Thompson has not had an easy ride. He was leading a group at one point. Displaced down the group in a matter of a couple of corners. And then in the pursuit of fighting for it back, chaos unfolded. But now Walker is going to be the next challenger on that list. Holmberg, Hamby, Björklund, Bird all into the pits. Not surprised one bit by Bird going in. Chris Wilson curiously staying out despite the crash. So maybe he's determined either the strategy is too important to deviate from, or that his damage was insignificant enough to warrant continuing unchanged. One of the things you got to weigh up is if your damage repair is going to be more time costly than just sticking out with the actual damage to begin with. It's like if you got to the end of the race and you have some damage to the front, meaning that you're not holding up pace, fine, you lose 3 to 4 seconds, but that is chop and change compared to the 30 plus that you'd be taking in that pit lane. It is not even in the same hemisphere as time save. And so at that point of the race, it is a no-brainer. But right now, we are slap bang halfway into the race. 30 minutes and 10 seconds to go, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 PM local here at the Silverstone Circuit. Things are looking a bit wet and dreary, but the drivers are keeping things alive. We're seeing some massive gaps start to substantiate themselves. Liam Blom, for example, 7.7 seconds ahead of Peter Wolfslener. And that is not Peter Wolfslener in the just behind him. There's Peter Wolfslener, who is only just coming out of Stowe Corner. Quite a gap between the two. And a gap only set to grow if the current trajectory is to be believed. Liam Blom is lapping, on average, about 3 to 4 tenths of a second faster than Wolfslener. Larson, Bourne, Marsh, Wilson, Herme, all into the pits. Thompson as well. A lot of drivers who are jumping into the pits. A lot of drivers who we will see start to change the order. What's this? We have an issue out on track from what I can see. This is Patrick Larson. Looks like they lost the car coming into the loop. Let's take a bit of a replay. See exactly what happened. This is Patrick Larson right now. We're going to see him coming up the out farm curve into village. Yeah, just too much there. Just too much, unfortunately. He's backwards on track. And so now down into 30 seconds. Here's Rog continuing the defense. Peter Smith, he is waiting. Not necessarily moving forward. They've spaced themselves out. No one's really making a major move. Yeah, it's not so aggressive running right now. Looks like we have had a moment. This is Aldhouse, Larson, Walker all out of the circuit. So we had a drive-through penalty coming through for the number 231 car that was now cleared. A brief excursion into the pits. Let's see exactly what happened here. So, Johan Larson. I'm going to take it from their perspective. This is going to be... oh, looking very dicey. So that is one of the Ferraris off track. Another Ferrari just going into the side of him. Barely collecting and avoiding Dave Marsh. You can see Niesbet, Gabbert, Homer, Aldhouse, Ostrachaz into the pits now. They're working their way in. Chris Bourne as well. Could be making a chance on P10. But none of the leaders have yet to pit in. Yeah, none of them have yet gone into the pit. Meaning that we still are dealing with, for some areas, a battle of two races. It's not going to be as clear-cut as you're in this position, you're in this position. Just taking a moment to observe. As just below you could see Damien Reed making an attack and successfully getting a spot on John Gabbett there. Niesbet also falling prey. Patrick Larson just up ahead. Gorn Habby continue to jostle. But Wolfslener and Gaimart at the top end of the order. Now into the pits. With Gaimart now coming out. And Lindblom soon to follow. Let's see what this unfolds for the racers. Wolfslener has taken on the chin. Looks like they've already had a pit stop to their name, but Lindblom out there currently in the pits. I do wonder where he's going to come out. Roger Dismukes and John Gabbett also in. So there was a stop and go penalty for the number 27 car that needed to be cleared. So that was Dave Marsh, 26th position he currently sits in. And frustration he currently broils in, I can only imagine. Lindblom currently out in P18 and back on the track. What's happening in terms of the field. As Bruce Hopkins, Peter Wolfslener, Richard Cook, Thomas Linatus all into the pits. That's a very good point has been pointed out. That is Lindblom actually going into the pit twice. So don't know why, and that would also explain why he's in 18th. Don't know why going into the pit again. No penalties to clear. The only penalties are for the number 27, the number 231, and the number 21. That's the only kind of penalties that have been served or needing to be served. The number 196 car just had a stop and go. That is Peter Wolfslener. So they have made a second stop in. The only driver from my count who has yet to actually pit in is Colin McNair. McNair is the only one remaining, the one who has yet to pit. And currently is the driver who has made their own space out on the track, to be honest with you. So we do have the number 21 car, that is John Gabbett. He's RTPing. Maybe jumping down to 33rd. Don't think we will be seeing him returning to the race anytime soon. Very rare that we see drivers pitting twice. Unfortunately, ACC TV, it counts stop and go penalties being served and drive-through penalties being served as pit stops. So those are taken at face value, but still have many situations where drivers may need to pit a second time. I do believe it was just a technical problem that required Lindblom to second pit. We have 20 minutes on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. Things have been pretty interesting up and down the course. We had a lot of pandemonium in the first couple of laps, but now it's where things have settled. Taken a materially calmer perspective. Saying that, Iro has outbraked himself. That is going to be him residing into P24 and staying there. As challenges are coming through. Looks like Lindblom has taken a third stop. Something is seriously wrong with Lindblom right now. His car, his setup, we don't know. He's all the way down in P28. He's got 3 minutes and 4 seconds last lap. Looks like this one's going to be another similar story. And this is huge for the championship. Rosgaz, Wolfslenner, they are all fighting. Even looking further, Geomar, Engdahl, Hermé. They are all fighting to get points up on the championship leader. If Lindblom has a race like this, he is in serious trouble. In serious trouble he is. And on the back foot. Most definitely will be. The next rounds are not going to be kind to this car. This is his current situation. McNair finally heading into the pits now. And they will be making their way out of the lane. Question is, where will they come out? So it's going to be coming out in around P5 or just about P6. Looks like they are going to be coming out just ahead of Hamby. Making this a three-way battle for free. So Hamby is not going to be giving him an inch. Look at this. This is a challenger. Really pressuring. Knowing how to put said pressure on. Hamby has dropped off a little bit, but this is Chris Bourne's turn now to get his own back. Get his own positions up into P5. Be peeking around. Waiting for McNair or Hamby to just make a mistake. This is the thing here. It's just making a mistake. Looks like we have had an issue. There is Linatus dropping a lot of speed. For some unknown reason, that's Randy Zimmer going off the track, yielding a free spot to Cole Thompson. See what happened there? Let's take a look on board with the helicam. Let's see exactly what happened to our one and only good friend, Mr. Linatus. So this is going to be coming out of Cop's corner and just taking a bit too much on the rear axle. Luckily, no damage, no major casualties, but down into P18 is not going to be ideal for him in the slightest. Bourne and Hamby fighting for 5th position, meanwhile, up through Maggots. Beckett's now certainly making a challenge of it. Bourne refusing to give up under any circumstance. Making it quite clear his intentions. He's not here to sit nice, play date, and have a good time. He's here to have a race. Push each other to the limit. See who comes out on top. And he's not the only battle like this either. Meet Derek Bird. Having recovered from an earlier incident, Bird is going to be on the back of the Lexus of Damien Reed. The challenge is in the Porsche's court because they not only need to get the pace to get up alongside, but it is always the responsibility of the passing driver to do it safely. He not only needs to get past, but he needs to get himself past cleanly, without dramas. Lindblom remains down in P28, hasn't really seen much in the way of positional improvement, but is still sticking it out, sticking together. Last lap was a 2:05.6. So hopefully they have still got decent pace to get a bit of recovery on their result. Worst case scenario, as mentioned, there are drop races, meaning that you have a bit of a safety net. And here we go, there's Kevin Walker. Let's see exactly what happened here. Just a bit too much oversteer. Lift off oversteer, and that's that. That's all she wrote. "13.5 minutes, also known as about 7 laps remaining. And 20/21 laps in. Gotta say, the wet weather hasn't induced as much chaos as I thought would happen, but it's certainly induced some great nail-biting scenarios and some great racing. The challenges to the championship on all classes, they're coming together, they're showing what they're made of. And if I was some of these championship leaders, I would be a little nervous right now, to be honest. Purely on the basis that if not your rivals, then the rest of your class folk are going to be getting much closer to you if you drop down here. We are seeing that with Lindblom, who's got himself up into P27. Again, knowing how to put the pace down, but certainly struggling with keeping everything together. Like a live wire. I'm getting a second faster time, but I crash out more often. Is that worth the risk? And maybe it is Lindblom, who is currently facing a dilemma of something similar. Asking, you do have the pace, but at what cost? Looks like technical issues was their answer. But Thompson and Marsh are actually having a brief minute together. Looks like it just got the move done coming out of the loop and into Aintree. Very, very wide arc there. That's Justin Cutler cutting across the track. Although not going to be not going to be phased. Completely unfazed by it. Cutler has made a move on Carl Thompson. Meanwhile, Lindblom is getting a taste of silver medicine and a little bit snappy on the exits of that repositioning. Lindblom is really charging ahead, really storming ahead right now. As much as one can. Looks like we have got 31 cars, so we've just lost one. One car has just left the session. And we know what this means, right, folks? It means that the attrition is starting to creep in a little bit. The wet races can be a bit polarizing. Certainly not an ideal condition that you want to face against. Even so, it is quite something special. The wet, I think, does bring out a certain talent in the drivers. It shows the people who have that finer car control to be able to manipulate the thing just in the way that they want it. Oh, Bird is up. Reed is under attack. Even further ahead, Björklund and Hamby could be fighting each other off for a top 5. We'll see who comes out with the pace, as there are less than 10 minutes left in this session. Bird and Holberg are going to be the drivers to watch, as they are in constant challenge, with Dave Marsh also taking a slice of that potential overtake pie. We will check out with all of the field and exactly where we go from here. We will check back in with a couple of familiar faces. Wilson, Bird, Reed, all in close succession. Wilson is kind of stuck in the middle of this, to be honest. Wilson and Bird to an extent, because Bird is on the attack for Reed. Wilson is trying to go alongside, but you can see he's just outbraked himself and gone way too deep. Luckily, the tarmac there is going to save him and bring him back in. But now Holmberg is in the hot seat, with Derek firmly busied up, firmly scheduled up with the fight that is Bird v Reed. 7 minutes left to go on the clock. Everyone has taken their pit stops. Now just a few drivers stand. Björklund no longer a threat to Hamby, but Hamby certainly a threat to Chris Bourne. We'll check in with those drivers momentarily. Ian Blom up to P25 meanwhile, so one more position gained. Our eyes are firmly trained on this quartet. Reed being 8.5 seconds away from Cook means that he's unlikely to be able to get anything higher than 12th. Certainly showing their moxie. And if we had to give a shout out to anyone, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Bruce Hopkins. Hopkins, this has been Hopkins' race. The qualifying, the race itself, just refuses to accept anything less than perfection, it seems. I gotta say, Bruce, after this one, take a bow. Take a bow, because you are sat in bronze, and yet you have managed to mingle your way into the top pro / gold class camp in the session. Seeing what's exactly happened here. We'll check on board. This is going to be on board with Holmberg. Derek Bird up ahead. Damien Reed even further. And that is going to be Chris Wilson. Oh, yes. Never mind. Tough act to follow. Down into 15th. Chris Wilson, though, and Derek Bird are really trading now. Wilson going very wide. A little bit of a tap there. Just a little bit of a tap. Alright, here we are. This is Nisbet, another driver who has done crazy well. P17 right now. P9 of Hopkins. Combined with that means that Bronze really have shown some excellent pace. Really do not want to be stopped. And oh, never mind. There is Wilson making a bit of contact. I think we ought to see exactly what happens there. We really ought to see it. So let's go. Let's go on top of the helicopter. So, Wilson is on the chase. Coming up to Derek Bird. Makes contact with Derek Bird. And there you go. That is a brutal hit. Not made any better by the fact that was a collision. Another Ferrari. The final couple of minutes now. And this is another crucial part of the race where we see if Guillemard, current race leader, is going to be going for one more lap or for two. Now, if he plays his cards right, he might be able to secure the win just earlier. Based on your previous lap results, on your predictors, whether the leader calls that it is going to be the last lap. Let's see as he makes his way up. Björklund, Hamby chasing each other down. Björklund in the end is going to get the honours. Yep, that is Frederick Guillemard coming up to the line now. Doesn't look like we had an announcement to say that the leader is on the final lap. It might just catch us by surprise. I'm assuming they have some kind of internal best line. Track 2. Just mentally, after so much driving, you almost completely internalize that track best line. So the field is quite closely set. Looks like Linatus and Cutler very briefly got extremely close. Very acquainted with each other. I think if they like the company. And then even further beyond that, this is Peyton and Lindblom, with Lindblom making swift work. And now in 22nd, by the way. A very impressive run. One thing I have to say, though, is that throughout all of this, there's been a serious winner. And a serious change-up. Usually this would be the part where I'd say something to the effect of Lindblom winning, because that has been a regular occurrence. But no, not today. This is in fact the last lap. We did the napkin maps ourselves, even if the announcer wouldn't do it on the race control. KMR is our top driver today. He is our potential winner, just needs to bring it home through. We are 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on. A corker of a race. Close all the way through. And then in the end, this is Frederick KMR, race winner of round 5 here at Silverstone. What an achievement to hold in your hand. An achievement to certainly be proud of. And meanwhile, Jimmy Engdahl is your next closest competitor, and within a couple of seconds of KMR all the way through. Certainly an impressive feat. It's Johan Larsson as well coming up to the line. The number 848 McLaren is your third place finisher. For the gold class, that is time and that is set and match. Let's see who is going to be our leader for the other classes. So this is Bruce Hopkins finishing not just ahead of all other bronze cars, but finishing ahead of any other silver cars too. Hopkins, what a force to be reckoned with as we come to the line. That is undeniably winner of bronze. Untouchable almost. Richard Cook's going to be closely behind and is going to be our leader and winner for silver with an impressive round. Closely followed by some of his peers. Like Reed, who was fighting to the bitter end alongside a certain Derek Bird. And then Matthias Holmberg in the 231 Ferrari. Looking beaten and battered, but he made it home. Followed by Craig Niesbet in P17 overall, but second in the bronzes. Iro taking a 24th, but that is really third place in bronze. Only a couple of cars left out on track really now, as its last approaches. Engdahl heading into the pit. And that is where we crown things out for tonight, folks. So quite a remarkable round this has been. One that I have absolutely loved. One that will be certainly remembered for a long, long time. Good time just yet. But that is where we call it here. Great racing, great fun had by all, and much to look forward to. Next time, you want to stay tuned in. You're going to want to be here this time next week, because 4th of March, we are headed to none other than the Green Hell itself. It's the Nürburgring Nordschleife. This is the race of races. This is the round you wouldn't want to miss, because it's, of course, the most grueling and longest track in the season by far. You'll want to be here. I will be here. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But for now, folks, we say goodbye. Thank you, as always, for joining us. It's been a great race once again, and a great chance to catch you all in the live chat. So thank you for joining. My name has been Ben Sapsford, aka Sapitron. I will see you very, very soon. Same time next week for the Nürburgring Nordschleife and round 6 for the Tuesday Night Championship here at SimSeniors. Goodbye for now.